Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 30 at 3 live for this week. Again, my name is David Zabka. What we're going to be talking about here this week is a couple different ways that we can save ourselves some time going through that initialize process that most of you are probably familiar with. Probably get frustrated sitting there waiting for that all the time. So we'll show you a couple things that we can do to save some time for that. So, and again, remember we'll have questions at the end. So if you can try and hold your questions off till the end, we'll go ahead and get some answers for you for most of those at the end if we can. Otherwise, always feel free to email us here, give us a call here, any questions. So what we're going to start off with here first, one way that we can save ourselves time for that initialize process would be to utilize Revit's templates. Okay, so you can actually initialize the SDS2 Connect in a template, and then that way when you create your project using that particular template, it's already done. You should be able to, go ahead and use any section size that are already loaded into that template when you create the project. So what I'm going to do is I have a template here that I'm going to kind of demonstrate this on a little bit. And let me browse to and open that template. Okay, so this is just kind of a standard template. I've been using this for a lot of different testing purposes and whatnot. So just to kind of show you here, if I go in here to add a beam, I do have quite a few section sizes already loaded, just some typical sizes that, again, I've been using for testing purposes and whatnot. If we look at SDS2 Connect, it currently is not initialized, so we have that initialize project up here. And I'm going to go ahead and run this. It will take a little bit here. There's not too much in this project, so it doesn't take too terribly long. But again, what it's doing here is it's going through, it's modifying all these families that are loaded into the project, preparing them for use with SDS2 Connect so that we can design the connections properly. So the other thing that initializing the project does, it also loads the families that Connect uses to actually design the connections, so the different plate families, the angle families. In newer versions, when we get another release out, there will be some channel and WT families that also get loaded up. The bolt families, the bolt that we use to represent the bolts, those get loaded up during this initialize process here also. You can kind of see here on the progress bar right now we're modifying the wide flange family that is loaded into this template. This is usually the one that takes the longest, kind of has the most preparing of this family to do. So now once this is actually initialized, the other thing that this is handy for is we'll be able to come into this template and you can set up all the different setup options, any standard setup options to be the way that they need to be. All the options under the options pull down, you can set those to be what your company prefers. And then when you save that off in a template and you use that to start your project, all those settings are going to be set in your project already, so you don't have to worry about whether you have some particular settings done correct or going through and making all sorts of changes to setup. It's kind of already done in that template for you. And obviously if you would have multiple different setup configurations that you need, you can save multiple templates then with the different setup options. That way you can use it that way and you'll have all your setup done then. We're just about done here now, and so now we can see here it's actually loading those connection families I was talking about. Okay, so now we actually have this initialized here, and what I'm going to do is, like I was talking about, I can come in, make changes to my setup and whatnot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here to the options, and I'm going to turn this from design established connections to design whole structure. I don't want to use the bolt arrays, and maybe I want to pull my connection material from a different material file than what I have specified here. And the other thing I'll do, I'll go into my setup. I'll make a couple changes in setup. I'm going to go into design criteria, just make a couple real simple changes here, nothing too drastic. In bolt design criteria, maybe I'll change the available bolt diameters to be used. Maybe I want to use TC bolts here so I can specify my F1852N bolt type. I can apply that to all my auto standard connections. Maybe I want to make a change to how the moment plates are designed. I can do that as well. Here I'm just going to make a simple change to the depth of the flange stiffeners that get created for our columns. Say OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this template. I'm going to save it as a different name here, so I'm going to use the save as. Okay, and I'm just going to add a initialized at the end, so I know this one is actually initialized and ready to go. So I'll save that. I'm going to go ahead and close it and then create a new project. And this new project I create then is going to be using the template that I just saved. So go ahead and open that up. Now if I go to the SDS2 Connect tab, one thing I should mention here, I am using a in-house version, development version, so I am going, you probably noticed I'm going to an SDS2 Connect tab rather than an add-ins tab all the time. This would work the same way with the versions that you guys have currently. You'd be going to the add-ins tab instead though. So just to show you here quick, look at my setup options that I changed. Okay, in my setup options, under those design criteria, I made a couple changes there. I made some changes in the bolt design criteria, and I also did the same thing under the moment plate design criteria. So we can see all those settings are being carried over. Now, if I just open up View here, and I'm going to go ahead and just add in a couple columns quick. And I'm going to add in a W10 by 49. Add one right on the corner there. Add another one over here. Now I'm going to go up to my second floor plan and add a beam framing between those two columns then. And maybe here I'll add a W12 by 26. Okay, maybe I'll go to my 3D view here just so we can kind of see it a little better, get the idea. And we can see we're already getting connections designed then. We don't have to wait for the initializing and all of that. We already did that. to the template, so when we created this, it's ready to go. Now, one thing you kind of still do have to worry about in that case is when we're doing this, if I have to load in a new family type, so I need a new size to use here that I don't already have loaded, when I go in and load that new size, so just kind of walk through this here, I'm going to load in a new wide flange size, and maybe I'll just go with, let's say, a W12 by 53. Say OK. So what's going to happen is Revit actually reloads every size that I had already had loaded into this project, and SDS2 Connect is going to have to go through and remake all the modifications to that family that it had done during the initialize project that I did to the template. So if I do have to load new sizes, like I said, later on in the project, I am going to have to spend a little bit of time at that point. Once we get done here, the next step, or the next thing that I'll show you, kind of eliminates the need to have to do that, or to have to go through this process here. So there is a little bit of time, these things to save us time. There is some time that we have to spend on doing this stuff up front, but once we get it done, in the long run, then it's going to save us a lot of time. We're not going to have to do it over and over again, like some of you probably already are. So we're getting, looks like we're getting everything regenerated here now. Shouldn't be much longer for this to finish. Okay, so now I should be able to go ahead and add in my new section size, that W12 by 53. And if I just take a look then in my 3D view again, kind of rotate around here, then we have our connection there. Okay, so utilizing Revit's templates is the first way, one way to save us some time with that initialization. Now, like I said, when we inserted that new section size, we had a little bit of time that we had to sit there and wait for that information to load up and remake some modifications. So the next thing that I'll show you kind of eliminates the need for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and close everything that I have here. I don't need to save that project. And I'm going to reopen the template that I previously initialized on. And this time what I'm going to do is under the SDS2 Connect tab, under that options pull down on the left side, we have this option in here called Library. Okay, so what that's going to do is, first off, when I run that, it's going to load up the libraries that I have specified in my Revit options here under the file locations. If I go into places, these are the three libraries where it's going to read that information. It's going to open those up. Okay, so we can see those three libraries. The checkboxes next to those really the only thing that they mean or do is that this is a library where Connect is seeing families that it can actually modify. The one I want to modify here is this U.S. Imperial library. Now the one thing I am going to suggest before you run this command or do this, especially with everybody having a lot of their own custom families and you know, things that are specific to their company. We really only test this a lot on the default families provided by Revit. So I might suggest to, you know, run this feature on a copy of your families to make sure that it works okay and everything. And if everything checks out, works okay with it, then go ahead and run it on your actual families, your library here, and go from there. So, but when I select that library path up here, notice it fills out the path down here at the bottom of my window, or I can hit browse and go find a specific library then that may not be set up through Revit. Okay. So when I say OK, then what's going to happen is right now we're just loading up all of the different steel families that are in that library. And I'm going to kind of open this up here and show you guys what we're going to actually modify. So to show you, so that library is under my C drive, under the program data. It's under Autodesk, RST 2012, libraries. Then I have my US Imperial, going to my structural framing. Okay, so in here we're loading up all these different families and we're loading up the text file here. So we're actually going to modify the RFA files in here, and we're going to modify the text files in here. So the text file is where the different family types get their sizes and that information from. And then we're going to make the same modifications to this family here during this process as we would to the families that are loaded into a project when we initialize. Okay, so we can see everything is loaded up. This looks similar to the material file mapping window. Right now, if I highlight one of these, we don't have any section types or material files or anything selected. So I could go through here. I could select my own that I want, say tell it to modify that. Or if I want to just apply the default options, I have a button down here to apply defaults. That's going to go through. If you watch here on the left, we're going to get a little picture of each different family type to indicate that it's recognized and it's set up to be modified. Okay, so see the pictures there come up. If I grab one of them here, we can see HSSTS. It's coming from this material file and set up to modify it. Under the sections, we do see some missing sections. Most of the time, those are the obsolete types, Revit family types, that are the ones that are missing. But you could come in here and you could make changes as you need, whatever, change your material file that this information is being pulled from, so on and so forth. Now, once I have that all set correctly, then I'm going to go ahead and say OK. Again, like I said, this is going through. It's modifying that family that I just showed you because that's the library that I had selected. And it's also making modifications to that text file in there with some information that we need as well. Now what's going to happen here is since there's already families loaded into this project, okay, it's not actually modifying the families loaded into this project, it's only modifying the ones in that library. So once this is done, if I want it to apply to the ones in this project, I'll go ahead and kind of force it to reload those families. When this is done here, I'll walk through that so we can see what a way to actually do that. And again, this doesn't take too terribly long. Part of the reason why this may even seem a little bit faster than the regular initialize is because we are able to make some of the modifications to that text file rather than just the specific families. It's a lot quicker to modify a text file than the families. And again, the wide flange family is going to be the one that kind of takes the longest just because it's the most modifications that we have to make. This is taking a little bit longer also than when I ran through it a couple times earlier today here. I think the go-to meeting kind of slows down my machine a little bit, so it wasn't actually taking this long earlier today when I was testing this out and everything to make sure it went smoothly. So if you guys are doing this, you got a good machine, you might not even have to wait on it this long. So. Okay, so now we shouldn't see the Initialize Project button up there, but if I hit that, it's not going to take too long because everything's already done. So there we go. Now, one thing I want to show you before, like I said, I'm going to kind of reload the families into this template. One thing I do want to show you first is if I go into this material window now, the material file mapping window, currently, I am going to see the families that are loaded into this project, and I can see their section sizes, which one I have loaded into the template. Okay. Now, after I force the reload, and the way I'm going to force this reload is I'm going to browse to that library again, same one that I had Connect modify. Okay, and you'll notice here a lot of my families get have the backup. So if you have Revit set up to back that up when they're being modified, you will get a backup. If I open one of these text files up, you notice there is some more information than was in there before. Okay, now what I'm going to do to make certain I get all the correct families reloaded that I need is I'm going to open the project browser and just expand my structural framing to see which ones I need to reload here. So I want to load the channel, HSS structural section, round structural tubing, double angle, and then I need the wide flange and WT. Obviously, if you have more loaded into your template, you'd probably want to reload all of those. I'm going to simply click and drag these over, overwrite, do it for all the reloaded families. Again, this portion of it doesn't take too terribly long. And then my next step is I'm going to go ahead and do that for my structural columns that I have loaded in here as well. Okay, so if I go back here, go to my columns, looks like I have a HSS, I have pipe, and I have a wide flange. Do this for all the families, overwrite. Okay, and now Once those are reloaded, if I go into the material file mapping window, I'm not going to see those listed here. So if these families and the text files have been modified by the library feature through SDS2 Connect, they're not going to show up in this material file mapping window. Okay, they shouldn't need to be shown up there. So, okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead and save this template then. Again, I'll save it with a different name so I know the difference between the two. I'm just going to add library to the end to know that I've ran the library on it. I'll go ahead and close that, create a new project, and I'm going to browse to and select that template that I just saved. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. If I look at the SDS2 Connect tab, everything's already initialized, ready to go. I'll come in here, add the same two columns like I did before. So I'll go column, W10 by 49. I'm going to go to the second floor. I'm going to add in a beam again. Again, I'll use the W12 by 26 for right now. And then I'm going to do the same thing like I did before. I don't have the 12 by 53 loaded. I'm going to go ahead and load the 12 by 53 up. And since Connect has already modified this W12 by 53, once I get it selected and loaded here, okay, I go ahead and add the beam. Since it's already modified, I don't have to wait for it to go ahead and modify all those wide flange families again. If I go to the 3D view here and show you, okay, we can see everything's being designed there already. So again, by running that library feature, we're modifying the default families rather than just the ones loaded into a particular project. We don't have all that wait time then. Combining it with the templates and initializing in a template and saving all your setup information in a template, you have all that already set up, and again, one less thing you have to wait for. So that's kind of my two big time-saving deals for initialization. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to a few questions here. If anybody has questions, can be related to this or just anything SDS2 Connect-wise. So if you want to go ahead and type that in the questions pane there in the GoToMeeting toolbar, I'll try and answer those best I can. So one question I have here is a question about do I have to have SDS2 Connect on every machine? And the answer to that currently would be yes, you have to have SDS2 Connect installed on each machine that you would like to use it on. We don't have any sort of network license or anything at this point, something we're looking into. It's just a single station license here. Now, that's not to say that other machines can't run Revit Structure in the same project as one being used by SDS2 Connect on another machine. But if you want to actually use that on each machine, then yes, you would need that installed on every machine. Another one is a question about Revit 2013. We're working on getting a version out here for Revit 2013. We're getting close for that. We do have it running in-house. We just need to do some more testing and whatnot on it to make sure it's safe to be actually released to the public here. So you should see a 2013 version come out here in the very near future. Okay, another question here is about something I did earlier in this demonstration. They're asking about when I set the option to not use bolt arrays. The question is, did that just make it put in individual bolt families, or should it not have been putting bolts in those connections? Basically, what that option does is, kind of zoom in here and show you here, by turning off the bolt arrays, every kind of bolt family here, you can see when I highlight that or select it, is a individual bolt. If I would tell it to use bolt arrays, the bolts are going to actually be, these two bolts would be basically one family, so they would be kind of combined. What that kind of would allow you to do then is get a count of bolts using your schedule more accurately than if you were using the arrays, because if you were using the arrays, obviously you're not going to be able to count up each individual bolt with the schedule. So that's kind of the idea behind that. You may see a little bit of a slowdown, however, if you're not using the bolt arrays and you're doing each individual bolt like that. So, okay. If there's no more questions here, those are the only ones I've gotten so far. If you guys do have more questions come up or anything, feel free to email us. Best place to get questions answered for SDS2 Connect would be to send your questions to support@sds2connect.com, and we'll get an answer back to you. So if there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and cut it off for today and look forward to seeing everybody next time.